ladies and gentlemen. You see, life is a strange thing. When we're young, we're often caught in a whirlwind of emotions, desires, and confusion. We go through life stumbling, learning, experiencing, but there's one thing that stands above all the relationships we form, particularly the ones we decide to marry. And let me tell you, not all relationships are equal. Some can elevate us, while others, if we're not careful, will drag us down into despair. So let's have an honest conversation about marriage, about the choices we make in picking the person we want to share our lives with. Marriage as a union is a profound thing. It's not just about finding someone to spend your days with. No, it's about finding someone who aligns with your deepest values, who complements your weaknesses, and who will stand by you through thick and thin. Yet, too often we hear people speak of marriage as if it's simply a destination, a goal to reach, a box to check. The reality is far more complex. What you marry into will shape your life in ways that you can't even fathom when you're standing at the altar. This is a crucial point. Marriage is not just a bond between two people, it's a binding force that reverberates through the very fabric of your existence. But here's the thing, many of us are ignorant of this. We fall into the trap of choosing partners based on surface-level attraction or fleeting emotion without truly understanding the depth of what such a union requires. We forget that a healthy marriage demands growth, self-awareness, discipline, and a shared vision for life. When you marry the wrong person, you don't just enter into a partnership. You bind yourself to chaos, to confusion, and to a future where your sense of self is constantly undermined. Let me be clear, there are certain people you should never marry. And this isn't about being judgmental or disparaging, it's about protecting your future, your peace, and your potential for greatness. Let's first talk about those who bring with them unresolved trauma. I'm not talking about people who have gone through hardship and are working to heal. No, I'm speaking of individuals who, despite their pain, refuse to confront it, refuse to acknowledge it, and refuse to change. If they carry emotional baggage and refuse to unpack it, you can't expect them to build something with you that is solid, healthy, and long-lasting. Instead, you'll find yourself bearing the weight of their unresolved past, something that can sour even the most passionate of marriages. You'll find yourself walking on eggshells, constantly trying to repair their brokenness, only to realize that they never gave you permission to help them heal in the first place. Their anger, their insecurity, their deep unresolved fears will suffocate you slowly, and before you know it, you'll be lost in their world, not your own. Now, think about another type of person, the manipulator. There are people who, at their core, do not have your best interest at heart. They know how to say all the right things, make you feel special, and get you to believe that they are the answer to all your problems. They are so adept at shifting the narrative, at twisting the truth, that you'll end up questioning your own perception of reality. They will wear a mask, not just for others, but for you too. They want control, not love. They want to manipulate your thoughts, your actions, and your decisions to serve their own interests. With them, marriage becomes a power struggle, a constant game of chess, but one where you are always on the losing side. You'll be emotionally drained, confused, and isolated, all because they have mastered the art of emotional manipulation, and you might not even realize it until it's too late. And then there's the narcissist. The narcissist. They are, unfortunately, everywhere. They live in a world where everything revolves around them, where their needs, desires, and emotions take precedence above all else. They're great at putting on a show for the world, but once the curtain falls, you realize the truth. They care more about their own reflection than they care about you. They'll love you in a way that's conditional. If you fulfill their needs, their image, their ego, you'll receive affection. But the moment you step out of line, when your needs rise to the surface, when you demand attention and love in return, you'll find yourself ignored, dismissed, or even cruelly attacked. In a marriage with a narcissist, you're nothing but an accessory, a pawn to be used in their grand game. They will drain you of your energy, your worth, and eventually your soul. But let's not forget another dangerous type, the dependent personality. Some people are addicted to the idea of love, to the idea of being in a relationship, but they are incapable of standing on their own 2 feet. They bring nothing to the table in terms of growth, ambition, or emotional maturity. They rely entirely on you to meet their needs emotionally, financially, and socially. They see you not as a partner, but as a caretaker, a crutch to prop up their fragile existence. You'll find yourself constantly giving, sacrificing your own dreams, desires, and happiness just to keep them from spiraling into despair. There's no room for you to grow, no room for you to be yourself, because they drain every ounce of energy you have just to stay afloat. And yet, no matter how much you give, it will never be enough. They are a bottomless pit, a void that can never be filled. There's the apathetic individual, the person who simply doesn't care. They have no ambition, no drive, and no passion for life. They drift through existence, doing just enough to get by, but never truly engaging with the world. They won't challenge you, they won't inspire you, and they certainly won't push you to be better. Instead, you'll find yourself constantly pulling the weight of the relationship, desperately trying to motivate someone who is perfectly content with mediocrity. They may not hurt you with active malice, but they will hurt you in a way that's perhaps more insidious, by robbing you of your sense of purpose, of your drive to achieve. The reality is, marriage is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the lazy or the uncommitted. It is not for those who are merely looking for comfort or companionship to fill a void. No, marriage is for the brave, the resilient, and the wise. It's for those who understand that the person you marry will shape your life in ways you cannot predict. They will influence your emotions, your success, your children, and your very sense of self. If you marry someone who isn't capable of meeting you at the deepest level, someone who refuses to grow, someone who lives in a fantasy world where everything revolves around them, someone who drains your energy, you are setting yourself up for failure. Make no mistake, your choices matter. And the consequences of those choices will follow you for the rest of your life. You are the average of the people you spend your time with, and the person you marry will have a direct hand in shaping your destiny. So choose wisely, choose thoughtfully, and most of all, choose someone who elevates you, challenges you, and allows you to grow into the best version of yourself. If you marry the wrong person, it will cost you more than you can possibly imagine. But if you choose wisely, if you find someone who is aligned with your values, who supports your growth, who pushes you to be better every day, then you will find that the rewards are boundless. You will not only have a partner, you will have a fellow traveler who will walk with you through the highs and lows, the successes and failures, helping you become the person you were always meant to be. Never settle for anything less than that. You see, too many people rush into relationships without truly considering the long-term implications. They get swept up in the allure of love, in the excitement of companionship, and in the promise of a future filled with happiness. But here's the harsh truth: love is not enough. Passion, attraction, and shared interests, these are important, but they are not the foundation upon which a lasting marriage is built. You need something deeper, something more substantial. You need alignment, you need shared values, mutual respect, and an unwavering commitment to growth individually and as a couple. And yet, in our modern world, where instant gratification reigns and superficial connections are glorified, many people fail to realize that they are setting themselves up for a future that is less than fulfilling. They marry someone who, on the surface, seems to be the perfect match, but underneath, there are deep cracks, fractures that will eventually show themselves. The most difficult part is that these cracks are often invisible, at first hidden behind charm, good looks, or shared interests. You don't notice them in the early stages because you're too busy living in the fantasy of what the relationship could be. But it's not about the fantasy, it's about the reality. And the reality is, marriage requires hard work, honesty, and emotional maturity. You cannot marry someone hoping they will change. You cannot marry someone with the expectation that their faults will simply disappear. Change is possible, but it has to come from within. It's a choice each individual must make for themselves. If they are not willing to do the necessary work, if they are not willing to face their fears, confront their weaknesses, and be accountable for their actions, then no matter how much love you bring to the table, the relationship will crumble. Love is not a cure for incompetence, immaturity, or emotional neglect. This is why so many marriages fail, not because the love wasn't there, but because one or both partners failed to grow. One or both failed to do the hard, uncomfortable work of becoming a better version of themselves. They clung to their old patterns, their old habits, their old stories. They refused to confront the parts of themselves that needed healing, and as a result, their relationship became a toxic cycle of blame, resentment, and stagnation. Marriage is about growth, both personal and relational. It's about learning how to communicate honestly, how to listen deeply, and how to confront difficult truths with courage and compassion. It's about learning how to fight fair, how to compromise without losing your sense of self, and how to remain steadfast in the face of adversity. It's not about finding someone to complete you, it's about finding someone who complements you, who challenges you, and who is on the same journey of self-improvement and growth. And here's the thing, growth requires sacrifice. You have to be willing to let go of your ego, your need to always be right, your impulse to control everything around you. You have to be willing to put in the work day in and day out to build a strong foundation of trust, respect, and mutual support. You have to be willing to acknowledge your own shortcomings and be vulnerable enough to ask for help when you need it. But that sacrifice is not a burden, it is a gift. It's a gift to yourself, to your partner, and to your future. When you marry the right person, someone who is equally committed to growth and self-improvement, you create a dynamic, thriving relationship that allows both individuals to flourish. You don't just survive together, you thrive together. You inspire each other to reach for the stars, to chase your dreams, to become the best versions of yourselves. The challenges you face are no longer obstacles, they are opportunities to strengthen your bond, to deepen your understanding of each other, and to forge a future that is meaningful and fulfilling. But for this to happen, you must first be brutally honest with yourself. Who are you, really? What do you truly want in a partner? What kind of relationship are you willing to invest in? And most importantly, what kind of partner do you want to be? You cannot expect to find a person who meets your needs if you are not willing to do the same for them. You cannot expect to receive love, respect, and understanding if you are not willing to offer those things in return. This is why the choice of a spouse is so critical. It is not something to be taken lightly, nor is it something to rush into. You are choosing a partner for life, someone who will witness the best and worst of you, someone who will shape the trajectory of your life, and in turn you will shape theirs. The question you must ask yourself is, will I be proud of the person I become in this marriage? Will I grow in a way that makes me a better, more fulfilled individual? If the answer is no, then you must reconsider. Take a step back, look at the person standing before you, and ask, is this someone who will challenge me to be better? Is this someone who can handle the difficult, messy parts of life and still stand by my side? If the answer is no, then don't marry them. Don't settle for comfort. Don't settle for what feels easy in the moment. Choose wisely, because your marriage will either elevate you or pull you down. It will either propel you toward your best self or hold you captive in a cycle of pain and regret. The hard truth is, many people marry out of fear. They marry because they don't want to be alone, or because they feel societal pressure, or because they've convinced themselves that they can make it work. They settle for a partner who may check all the right boxes, but who doesn't align with their core values, their vision for the future, or their personal growth. But when the storm comes, and it always comes when life tests your strength, when hardships arise, when your worst fears are realized, you'll find that these superficial connections cannot withstand the pressure. Only a marriage built on mutual respect, shared growth, and emotional maturity can endure. So let me leave you with this: do not marry out of desperation. Do not marry because you fear being alone. Do not marry because the clock is ticking. Marry because you believe in the person standing before you, because you trust in their ability to grow with you, because you have witnessed their integrity, their character, and their ability to face adversity with grace. Marry someone who inspires you, who challenges you, who pushes you to be better, and who will stand beside you when the world tries to tear you apart. Choose someone who is capable of doing the hard work of self-reflection, of confronting their own flaws and shortcomings, and of growing alongside you. Choose someone who understands that love is not just a feeling, it is a commitment, a practice, a lifelong endeavor. Choose someone who is willing to fight for you, for the relationship, and for the future you will build together. That is the kind of person you should marry. Anything less will cost you more than you can possibly imagine. Choose wisely. Let me elaborate further on the kind of person you should never marry, because it is just as crucial to understand who not to marry as it is to understand who to choose. It's easy to be blinded by infatuation, the fantasy of a happy future, or the desire for companionship. But reality will always check your idealism, and the consequences of choosing poorly will follow you into every facet of your life, your work, your friendships, your health, and your well-being. A bad marriage doesn't just impact the two people involved, it has ripple effects that touch every part of your existence. One of the most dangerous types of individuals to marry is the emotionally unavailable person. This is someone who may seem charming at first, someone who is good at being present when it's convenient or easy, but when it comes to deep, vulnerable connection, they are nowhere to be found. They have walls built so high that no matter how much love, care, and attention you pour into them, it will never feel enough. This is someone who refuses to open up, who avoids difficult conversations, who shuts down during conflict and leaves you standing there, yearning for a connection that will never come. They cannot give you the emotional support you need. They cannot share their fears, their desires, their ambitions with you, and when you need them the most, they are emotionally absent, leaving you feeling alone in a marriage. If you marry someone who is emotionally unavailable, you'll be trapped in a relationship where the distance between you grows wider with every passing day, and the loneliness becomes a constant companion. You may find yourself in a marriage without the very thing that a partnership is supposed to offer: connection. Another dangerous trait to watch out for is entitlement. You'll know them by the way they expect everything to be handed to them, the way they assume the world owes them something. They are incapable of taking responsibility for their actions, always finding someone or something else to blame for their failures. They will never see your needs, your sacrifices, or your love as enough. Instead, they will expect you to continuously give and give without ever offering anything in return. They may claim to love you, but their version of love is rooted in selfishness, in their own desires and expectations. Love becomes a transaction with them. What can you do for me? How can you serve me? How can you make my life easier, better, more comfortable? There is no true appreciation or respect for what you bring to the table. They will drain you emotionally, mentally, financially, because they view the relationship as an opportunity to extract as much as they can without ever giving back. This type of person will never honor the principle of reciprocity that is so essential to a healthy, thriving marriage. Instead, they will use you as a tool to meet their needs while leaving yours unmet. In the long run, you will feel used, unappreciated, and insignificant. You cannot thrive in a relationship with someone who takes but never gives. And then we come to those who are perpetually stuck in victimhood, those who see themselves as perpetual martyrs, constantly blaming their circumstances, their past, and everyone around them for their problems. They fail to take responsibility for their actions, their behavior, or the way they engage with life. Every conversation, every disagreement, every challenge becomes an opportunity for them to play the victim. They turn every issue into a saga of how they've been wronged, and they will drag you into that narrative, forcing you to constantly reassure them, defend them, and validate their sense of victimhood. Living with such a person is exhausting because no matter how much you give, how much you try to support them, they will always find a reason to complain, to blame, and to wallow in their victimhood. This kind of mindset traps them in perpetual emotional paralysis. Instead of growing, instead of taking responsibility for their part in the challenges they face, they wallow in a mindset that keeps them stuck in the past, unable or unwilling to move forward. You cannot build a future with someone who refuses to acknowledge the present moment, who is so locked into their personal drama that they cannot participate in building a shared reality with you. Let's talk about dishonesty, and I'm not just talking about the occasional white lie. I'm talking about habitual dishonesty, a person who constantly twists the truth, hides things from you, and operates with deception as a means of controlling the situation. They will lie about the small things, the inconsequential things, but they will also lie about the big things, the things that matter: finances, commitments, their intentions, their loyalty. With them, trust is not a foundation, it's an illusion. Trust is the bedrock upon which a successful marriage is built, and if you marry someone who is dishonest, you will never feel secure. A lack of honesty poisons everything, and over time it erodes the trust that is necessary for a healthy relationship to flourish. Lies, even if they seem small, build up over time, and once trust is broken, it is incredibly difficult to rebuild. If you are with someone who lies frequently, you are essentially navigating a minefield of uncertainty and fear. Every word, every action becomes suspect. Can you truly love someone if you can't trust them? The answer, of course, is no. A relationship without trust is a ticking time bomb. Lastly, let me address the issue of lack of ambition. There's a world of difference between being content and being complacent. It's one thing to appreciate the present, to value peace, and to be grateful for the moment. But it's another thing entirely to be utterly unmotivated, apathetic, or lacking any vision for the future. If you marry someone who has no dreams, no goals, no sense of purpose beyond mere survival, you are setting yourself up for a life of stagnation. When you're with someone who doesn't have a fire inside them, who doesn't have a sense of direction, you'll eventually find that your own ambition, your own desires for progress and success will feel suffocated. Ambition isn't just about wealth or status, it's about growth, contribution, and striving towards something greater. When you marry someone who has no ambition, you'll find yourself carrying the weight of the relationship alone, constantly pushing, striving, and striving, while your partner is content to sit on the sidelines. It will drain you, it will diminish your energy, and over time, lead you to question why you're putting so much effort into something that isn't growing, something that isn't moving forward. So when considering marriage, ask yourself, does this person want to build a future with me, or are they simply along for the ride? Are they willing to put in the effort, or are they just hoping I'll do all the work? Do they have the emotional maturity to handle the challenges that life will inevitably throw our way? Are they honest, reliable, and true to their word? Do they have the capacity for growth, not just individually, but within the context of our relationship? These questions matter deeply. They matter because at the end of the day, your partner is the person you will lean on, build with, grow with, and if you choose well, experience life's greatest joys with. But if you marry the wrong person, if you marry someone who is emotionally immature, manipulative, dishonest, or lacking in ambition, you will face a life that is devoid of fulfillment, a life of emotional turbulence, of stagnation, of bitterness. Your marriage is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. So make it with clarity, with honesty, with an eye toward the future, and above all, with a deep understanding of the responsibility it entails. Choose wisely, choose carefully, and choose someone who will help you grow into the person you were always meant to be. The weight of this decision cannot be overstated. We often think that love is a simple, magical thing, that it will somehow carry us through the darkest moments. But love, as powerful as it is not a magical solution. Love requires effort. Love requires strength. Love requires both partners to be in alignment, to be willing to face the hard times with commitment and integrity. Without that, love can fade quickly, leaving you with nothing but regret. When we choose a partner, we must choose not just someone we are attracted to in the moment, but someone who will help us build a life, a future that is meaningful and aligned with our values. People change over time. We all go through phases, we evolve, we learn new things. The person you marry today may not be the same person you are married to in 10 years, but that's the beauty of it. A strong, healthy relationship is one where both partners can grow together, continuously learning and adapting, encouraging each other to become the best versions of themselves. But this requires mutual respect, understanding, and the willingness to face challenges together. You cannot go into marriage with a mindset that it will always be easy, that love will simply smooth over the rough patches. Life will test you. It will test your marriage. It will throw obstacles in your way. And if you aren't with someone who is willing to face those challenges head on, you will find yourself fighting battles alone, struggling against forces that you cannot control. The mistake many people make is thinking that love alone is enough to carry a marriage. It isn't. Compatibility is key. Marriage is about partnership. It's about pulling something together, day by day, brick by brick. It's about sharing the load, supporting one another, and moving forward as a united front. Compatibility isn't just about sharing common interests or hobbies, it's about shared values, a shared vision of the future, and a shared understanding of what life demands. If those things aren't in place, no amount of affection or attraction will make up for the mismatch that exists beneath the surface. This is why it's so important to really know who you're marrying before you commit. We often believe we know someone simply because we have spent time together, because we have shared moments of vulnerability or connection. But how well do we truly understand the core of who they are? How well do we know how they will respond in difficult situations, how they will handle conflict, how they will support you when things fall apart? The reality is, a person's true character doesn't always reveal itself in the good times. It's in the challenging moments that we see who someone really is. When the storm hits, when life gets tough, when money is tight, when health declines, when tragedy strikes, that is when the true test of a relationship begins. And if you haven't taken the time to understand how your partner deals with adversity, you will be caught off guard. This is why it's also crucial to understand your own weaknesses, your own flaws, your own triggers. If you want to build a lasting, healthy marriage, you have to first be capable of being honest with yourself. Are you someone who can handle conflict constructively? Do you avoid difficult conversations, or do you embrace them with openness and empathy? Are you willing to take responsibility for your own shortcomings? Do you have the emotional maturity to face the tough moments, or do you withdraw, lash out, or shut down when faced with discomfort? The quality of your relationship will always reflect the quality of the individuals within it. If you want to build something strong and lasting with another person, you must first work on yourself. Marriage is a mirror. It reflects back to you everything about who you are, everything you need to work on, everything you need to grow through. It's a constant challenge to rise above your own limitations, to confront your own weaknesses, and to become the person who is worthy of the kind of relationship you want. If you marry someone who isn't capable of doing this work, or who isn't willing to face their own flaws, then you are setting yourself up for failure. Growth must happen together. Another critical aspect of marriage that is often overlooked is the idea of emotional intelligence. Some people are emotionally stunted. They cannot read the room. They cannot understand their own feelings, let alone the feelings of others. They don't know how to communicate their needs without getting defensive, angry, or withdrawing. If you marry someone who lacks emotional intelligence, you will be stuck in a cycle of frustration and misunderstanding. You'll feel unheard, unappreciated, and alone even when they are physically present. A healthy marriage requires two people who are emotionally mature enough to handle the ebb and flow of life, who can support each other through both joy and sorrow, and who can communicate openly and honestly without fear of rejection or judgment. Without emotional intelligence, you cannot resolve conflict, you cannot express love in meaningful ways, and you cannot understand the deeper emotional needs of your partner. Furthermore, don't ignore the importance of shared purpose. A strong marriage is not just about sharing a space and a life, it's about sharing a mission, a vision, a direction. When both partners have a sense of purpose, they are drawn together by a common goal. This goal can be anything from raising children to building a business to pursuing shared passions, but the key is that both people are moving towards something together. If one partner is content to drift aimlessly, while the other is working hard to achieve something meaningful, the imbalance will breed resentment, frustration, and division. Marriage works best when both individuals are aligned with a higher purpose, something beyond just their individual desires. This shared purpose is what will keep the bond strong when challenges arise, because both people will be working toward the same end. A life without a shared purpose is a life where the two of you are merely existing together but not truly living. Lastly, let's consider the role of respect in marriage. It is fundamental. Without respect, love withers, communication breaks down, and resentment builds. Respect is not something that can be faked, it must be genuine. It involves seeing your partner as an equal, valuing their opinions, their thoughts, and their needs. Respect is what allows a marriage to thrive, to endure, and to be fulfilling. If you do not respect your partner, you will never feel secure, heard, or appreciated in the relationship. If you do not respect your partner, you cannot love them properly. So, when choosing a life partner, consider this: is this someone who can truly respect me, see me for who I am, and honor my value as a person? Do I feel secure in their love and respect even during the difficult moments? Because at the end of the day, respect is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Without it, the relationship will eventually collapse under the weight of misunderstanding, neglect, and hurt. In conclusion, the decision to marry someone is not one to be taken lightly. It is a life-altering choice that will shape your future in ways you cannot always predict. So choose carefully. Choose wisely. Choose someone who not only brings you joy and companionship, but who challenges you, who supports your growth, and who shares your values, your purpose, and your vision for the future. When you make the right choice, the marriage becomes a partnership of mutual growth, respect, and love. When you make the wrong choice, it becomes a burden, one that will drain you, diminish you, and leave you questioning the very nature of love itself. You deserve more than just a partner. You deserve someone who is capable of walking alongside you through the peaks and valleys of life, who will uplift you, challenge you, and grow with you every step of the way. So never settle. Never marry someone who cannot offer you the respect, the honesty, and the emotional maturity you need to thrive. Choose wisely, and your life will be a reflection of the love and growth that you have built together. In the end, the decision of who you marry is one of the most significant choices you will ever make. It is a choice that will determine the quality of your life, the direction of your future, and the emotional and mental energy you invest for the rest of your days. Do not marry for convenience. Do not marry because you fear being alone or because the pressure of time weighs heavily upon you. Marry someone who brings out the best in you, someone who challenges you to grow, who shares your vision for the future, and who is willing to put in the hard work necessary to build something lasting. This is not just about love, it's about partnership, respect, mutual growth, and the unwavering commitment to face the world together, side by side, no matter what challenges arise. The right person will help you grow into the best version of yourself. The wrong person will drain you, dim your light, and keep you from becoming who you are meant to be. Remember, a marriage is not about finding someone who will make you happy, it's about finding someone you can build a meaningful life with. So ask yourself, is this someone who will lift me up, challenge me, and grow with me? Will they support me through the darkest of days, celebrate with me in the brightest of moments, and stand by my side as I evolve into the person I was meant to become? If the answer is no, don't settle. Don't settle for a life of mediocrity, of stagnation, or of emotional emptiness. Choose wisely. Choose carefully. Choose someone who will not only walk beside you, but who will make you stronger, wiser, and better. This is your life, your future, your happiness. Do not let anyone or anything cloud your judgment when it comes to the person you decide to share it with. You deserve the love, respect, and growth that will take you to your highest potential. So choose the person who will stand with you, not just in the good times, but through all the trials and triumphs that life will inevitably bring. That is the kind of marriage worth fighting for.